Welcome to Rainbowsoul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbowsoul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbowsoul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbowsoul Soulstrology Astrology Forecast. I'm Hollis Taylor, and this forecast is from September 11th through the 17th. And I'm glad you're here. I'm one of the astrologers here with you today, and you can check out my website below at divineandrogen.com. It's listed below.
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. Happy to be back. I'm a musician, I'm a storyteller, author of the book The Dancing Hippo, which you can find more, learn more about and find at my website, brighthawkproductions.com.
All right.
And I'm Lacrosse Ortiz, and I am the creator of the Fool's Journey Color Journals. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and the link for the book should be in the descriptions.
Yep. All right. Fantastic. So I think we're gonna take just this moment to focus. Take a minute to sit still and put your feet on the floor. And just blow out any stress you might be having, any irritation or agitation. And come into the present, into the here and now. Into your body. You can feel your feet on the floor, your bottom, and just imagine yourself outside, under the night sky, with the moon in its new phase, meaning that it's completely dark. That way you can see all the stars. And as the new moon is dark in the sky, the stars are shining bright. And the moon, you can just barely see a little bit of an outline, but only a little, because it is dark in the sky. And from way over on the other side of the sky is a bright planet that seems to be shining bright, and it begins to move towards you, getting bigger so that you are focusing on it. And this planet is Jupiter. And Jupiter is turning backwards, and it is helping you to find your path, to understand and find the right mindset, and expanding your awareness, your spiritual thought, and Jupiter, with its good luck, forwards or backwards, blesses you and the moon in a perfect alignment. Jupiter bringing luck and blessings to all that it touches. And as you feel like you've been touched by the luck of Jupiter, it pulls back into the sky, into its spot so far away. And again, you become aware of all of the stars in the sky and how big and huge they all are. And all together, how it is that it feels that the universe is expansive, huge. And in this moment, you can feel the expansive stars, the expansive sky, bringing you an expansive view. And then slowly we come back into our bodies in the here and now, into the present moment, in our seats, with our feet on the floor, grounded and present. Feel your feet on the floor. Stretch your hands. Stretch your neck. And open your eyes. And come back to the here and now.
There you go.
Good job, Bright Hawk.
Well, thank you. Good job on giving us a little journey to Jupiter,
Well, it is like
my
a very,
ruling planet.
it is
so-
one of the most blessing of the planets. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it
the
tends to
big-
make everything bigger, but it also
it's
tends
known
to
as
bless.
the benefic, the big
Yeah,
good vibe energy.
yeah, exactly. So, And why not? Because Jupiter is going to have a big role to play this week, my friends. And to be honest, we have a really good week ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it is.
And last week hopefully wasn't too bad for you. Hopefully you've surfed through that week pretty well and took advantage of all the blessings in the sky, because for sure, even I guess it was Labor Day, in the beginning of it last week. So Labor Day and all of those blessings that would be brought forth the week after Labor Day. So and now to be in September 11th. When I first opened up this chart, the first thing that popped out at me, because that's like one of the things that I do, I just kind of open the chart and say, okay, what pops out? And Pluto trine Pallas Athena. I thought, well, isn't that a blessing? We finally got the right strategy. Because that's Pallas Athena. She's all about strategy, and it's in Virgo. So it probably has a lot to do with like practical strategy, like do A, B, and C to fix problem. Okay. And so whatever plan or strategy you're putting forth this week is probably going to go really well. So and that's really good to hear, because if you're listening to this, I will be going into surgery in 4 or 5 days from now. So
we're grateful. It's a great
I'm
week.
grateful that I asked an astrologer to help me pick my dates. Okay, so if you get to pick your dates for surgery or any kind of medical thing, it's definitely worth it contacting an astrologer to see what you can do. Or if you're going to get married or do any big life thing, you want to look at the astrology. So the first thing that popped out to me was Pluto trine Athena. I was like, well, that's a really good thing. And then also, it is also technically the part of fortune is also there. And just a little bit earlier in the day, September 11th in the morning, part of fortune will be almost perfect, because it moves pretty quick. So like the night of the 10th, it would be on the part of on Pallas Athena. And so that's kind of like, this is a perfect, your strategy is working, because Pluto is very much about death. It's also about power and control. So, if you're changing big relationships, you're dealing with any of those kinds of big topics, they definitely are probably, you're making a plan to deal with it. Well, there you go. Okay. And Vesta also is trining the South node. So Vesta is your spiritual dedication, okay? And it's in Gemini. It's been there for a while. And it's trining the South node and Ceres, which are conjunct. They've been conjunct for a while. And the thing about that is that the South node is like kind of where you came from and the nurturing that you have had in the past. So with Ceres, it's about nurturing, maybe some wounds from the past, okay? Because the South node can represent those old wounds that you've brought forward from a past life, or even from your childhood, or wherever you came from, okay? And Vesta, which is your spiritual dedication, is there. Is kind of trining, meaning, so listen to your spirituality. Listen to any spirituality you got going on Monday, September 11th. Listen to that. Even, Sunday, Monday, because there's a grand trine coming into form this week.
Yeah, and that grand trine lasts all week. I saw it there, just hangs out. Mm-hmm. So, well, the moon, as you can see, this is a new moon week, and of course, the new moon happens when the sun and the moon are together in the same part of the sky in the same degree. And so, in this case, the moon right now is in Leo, so it's a waning crescent, and it's in a square to Jupiter, but that's the only challenging aspect. Everything else is positive. It's as you can see, it's going to pass right over Mercury. It's conjunct Juno and Venus. Sorry, Mercury will happen later. It's conjunct Juno and Venus, and then it'll be in a trine to Chiron, which is very positive in relationship to your healing or whatever you're working on. So when the moon, when the moon is in Leo, and we know Leo is ruled by the sun, that means the moon is answering to the sun in Virgo. So they're all positive aspects, and what we want to look at with the Leo moon is exuberant, right? It's creative, it's fun loving. Leos, yes, Leo moons can be self-centered. Yes, they can be arrogant. Yes, they can be bossy. But really, the moon is pretty happy there because it's very creative. And the new moon that's coming up this week, it's going to be on the 14th, and it'll be a new moon in Virgo at 21 degrees. And so that'll, be coming. We're working our way towards it. But basically, the moon on Monday is all the aspects on Monday look really positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's ongoing aspects that have been happening for a while, like Pluto squaring the nodes. And that's mostly, having to deal with some sort of long-term problems.
Yeah.
And a lot of you have been dealing with things for quite some time.
Yep.
Okay, so that could be like grief or toxic relationships or okay, or whatever it is. For me, it's health problems. Could be all kinds of things. Now, on Tuesday, the 12th, Lilith will sextile, which is a good thing. It's sort of like when two planets come together, or asteroids or whatever, 2 points come together, and in a sextile, it usually means that they forget their differences. Okay, they just kind of allow their differences to go, and they try to meet on the good notes between the two of them. And so this is about your independent streak, your independence, and how that is aspecting from where you came from, and your personal power and where that came from in your past, because the South Node is about your past. Okay, and Venus now. Venus is stationing because she's about to go forward. Okay, so she's starting to go forward here, but she's kind of stand still at this point, and which is good news. Okay, Venus is also sextiling the South Node and Ceres as well. Okay, so she's especially with the as she stations, so that sextile is pretty large one, but it's still pretty strong because Venus is going forward. So because Venus is starting to station and sort of stand still
after like 7 weeks, man, this is big.
Whatever's happened to you in the last 7 weeks, okay, with your Venus retrograde, broke up, you ended a toxic relationship, whatever has been going on, there's going to be some nurturing of it, some comfort of it, some sort of resolution coming up for it. Okay, I'm not saying that it will be complete yet, but it will be some sort of resolution that will happen for you. And like I said, there's a grand trine forming, and it's starting to get stronger and stronger each day this week.
Would the South Node also speak to past lives and people popping up in your world that
it could
feel like, why do I know you, but I don't?
Yeah, and it could also be like soul contracts. Like that's also because a lot of times soul contracts come from a past life anyway. So like we agree to do something in this lifetime with somebody. That's what what the heck's a soul contract, Alice? It's not quite a soulmate or twin flame. A soul contract, though, you will feel very drawn to that person. It's very important that you engage with that person because they are going to help you resolve some sort of karma or learn some sort of lesson, good or bad. It's not necessarily bad. Could be troubling, could be a toxic relationship. A lot of toxic relationships are soul contracts, absolutely. Okay. And so what happens is that a soul contract is before you're born, before you come into this world, you agree to meet up with this person, and this person is going to teach you what love is not, what dishonesty is. And maybe you pair up with this person and they cheat on you and are dishonest with you, and you find out. Okay? And so that is a lesson that you had to learn about what dishonesty feels like. And maybe it's because you've done it in a past life. Maybe it's because there's some sort of soul lesson. Maybe you have a lesser value of yourself, and so you don't give enough value to who you are and what it feels like to be with you. So that was something I had to do. I had to learn from my ex, who I had a soul contract with. I had to learn from him that my value was much higher than what he was valuing me at. And so once I raised my value and my standards and said, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, and I deserve better than this, damn it, and I will not tolerate this. And, frankly, whatever we tolerate in the world, well, that's what people are going to do. So if you don't stop people, if you don't put up boundaries, well, they'll probably just walk right through them. Even if you think you put up a boundary, if you don't stop them, that's what happens. Whatever you tolerate from other people, well, you're telling them that it's okay. So I sort of tolerated it from him for a little while, and then at some point I ended the relationship, and thank God I did, because I raised my value, and that was my sole purpose. And a lot of us have to go through that. It is not easy. I am not going to kid you. You have to come to some sort of understanding within yourself that you are of more value. So that's a very common lesson, I'd say. That's
Right.
gosh, like so many people have to learn what their value is, and sometimes it's through a toxic relationship.
Right. Unfortunately, we tend to really learn it when it's painful, and never when it's easy breezy, right?
Right.
So one of the things that we talked about, and I'm noticing this is happening again, is that astrology, it points to themes multiple times. So everything that you just said and the players that you're pointing to, in relationship to the moon is trining the North Node, conjunct Lilith, squaring Uranus, in a sextile to Ceres. We just talked about Ceres. In a sextile to Vesta. These are all positive aspects. It's opposing Saturn, which is the challenge point. But when you put all of those points together, it forms a kite. And what we talked about once before is that kites, the way a kite lifts up is when all the points are activated. So when we talk about Ceres and Vesta, those are both, we talk about them as goddesses, asteroids that Ceres speaks to what we're nurturing, what we're mothering, what we're birthing into this world. And Vesta speaks to our loyalties and where we put our values. And so it keeps coming up. And then you have the moon conjunct Lilith, which means it's going to amplify Lilith's energy. And Lilith is also about honoring the feminine. What's your strategy? I deserve more than this is absolutely a Lilith line, if there ever was one, right? And so that's all part of the kite. And then you find the exact same players in 3 yods, 3 different yods. They're all called fingers of God. A yod and a finger of God are the same thing. So one of them is pointing at the moon and Lilith, and the base is Pluto and Neptune. One of them is pointing to Neptune, and the base is Sirius and the moon and Lilith. One of them is pointing at Pluto, and the moon and Lilith and Vesta are the base. You see the same players over, and all of them are getting activated. And so when we talk about the finger of God or the yod, we're talking about fated energy, energy that is telling you, go that way. Don't, resistance is futile, right? So don't waste your energy thinking you could fight certain things when you know the flow is this way, That's the kind of energy that we have, especially when you throw in the North Node and then you have that Venus sextile South Node. It's all right there. It's very fated energy. It's very pay attention, go with the flow, and see what good things you can make happen today.
And this is why learning whatever way you want to read astrology is perfect for you. Because the interesting thing is there's like 100 different ways to come at this. Because but it's all going to tell you the same thing. Right? Okay, so I can also see that there's a mystic rectangle in the sky with some of the same players. And so a mystic rectangle is very fated. It's very much about this is what you're supposed to do. So if you find yourself ended a toxic relationship or dealing with some health problems, just know that the stars, they got you. They got you. And I'll have to play this back for myself next week or this week, okay? When I do this. I'm sure I'll have to play it back for myself. The stars got you. They are holding you. And they're pushing you forward into exactly what's supposed to be happening. And that's why this is such a beautiful week. As far as like, things aligning and, so just allow for spirit to show you the way. Stay open. Don't try to control it. Don't pull a Pluto on things. Okay? Don't try to control the fuck out of everything. Just instead allow things to unfold as they will. Okay? It takes a little bit of surrender for that. And Pluto squaring the nodes is one way it will definitely teach you surrender. Okay? Because you just got to let it go and let it happen. Okay, friends? So whatever's going on, whatever it is, just allow. Okay? And now, this is Wednesday the 13th. And the Grand Trine will pretty much perfect on this day and the 13th and 14th. And the Grand Trine is with Saturn, which is very much the system. So that's going to include Saturn in Pisces very much rules like hospitals and legal things, or because Saturn deals with all of that. Okay, so if you're having to deal with some paperwork, or you're having to go into a hospital like me, or you're having to deal with anything that has to do with the system or the foundation of things, and especially if it's changing the way that you deal with it, that's part of this trine. Okay, and then also we're engaging Vesta, which is your dedication. What are you dedicated to? Where are you going? Where are you headed? And then also with the part of fortune, okay, over there. And also at the same time, Ceres, which is about nurturing, and the South Node, which is dealing with wherever you came from. They're all kind of conjunct over there in the same little thing over in Libra, okay? So they're all kind of on top of each other, the South Node, part of fortune, and Ceres at this point when the Grand Trine starts to form. And that mystic rectangle that I talked about is also more perfected now at this point. So, and that's really beautiful. This is very much about, this is what's supposed to happen. This is how it should happen, right? And so whatever you're dealing with, Just allow it to unfold. Keep, just go with whatever the stars are guiding, okay? What comes to you, feel into it, feel what's right for you, and then do it, okay? And even if it's scary, especially if it's scary. Why? Well, Pluto is about fear. And Pluto is squaring the nodes. And Pluto has put this challenge in front of you on purpose so that you would face your fear. Because did you know that when you're on the other side of the fear is the best, amazing gift you can imagine? I don't know how many times you've faced your fear, but I have faced my fear quite a bit being a Scorpio rising. And every time I do, I'm rewarded, right? I was afraid to leave my ex-husband who cheated on me that I told you about. And wham, as soon as I left him, I was rewarded. Okay. And life got better for me. Okay. And so the more life got easier for me, like finances and work and all kinds of things got better. And even my mental health got better. Wow. Right. Okay. And I was like, wow. And I was afraid all that time. Well, that was silly. And so I started to pay attention to what I resisted because of fear. And I started saying, maybe I need to not be so focused on the fear. And I have slowly learned, and that's just pure wisdom, my friends. I bet you lacrosse, you've probably had this too. Like if you face your fear, what's on the other side is usually light and bright. Yeah. Yeah. And it just is. And that's what's going on right now. So if you're facing a fear, you are right on track, and just know that the stars are with you.
For sure. So on the 13th, the moon enters Virgo, and you can see it's conjunct Mercury. And of course, when the moon is in Virgo, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is retrograde, but it's at home in its home sign. So it's amplifying Mercury's energy. That's what that's going to mean. And it's, of course, opposite Saturn. So oppositions are this or that. There's no mixing. You either experience one or you experience the other. But other than that, that's it. There's no other aspects with the moon that day. It's a dark moon because it's the day before the new moon. So a lot of people like to do their rituals for the new moon, either on this day or the next day. You can always take advantage of that window. It's usually the day before, the day of, and the day after are all valid time periods for doing a new moon ritual. So a new moon in Virgo is a very positive thing because, of course, Virgo is practical intelligence. It's intellectual, it's meticulous, it pays attention to detail, it's steadfast, it's loyal, it's very thoughtful and very responsible. The challenge side of a Virgo moon is critical. Virgos sometimes are hypochondriacs. Sometimes they're argumentative because they're wicked smart. Most of the time if they have the answers, they're going to argue their point. And so usually if a Virgo starts arguing, I go, shut up, they're right. Most of the time, because they won't get into the argument if they're not, basically, because they're not ones to just argue for the sake of arguing. They're not an Aries-like person. They are very thoughtful. They're very meticulous, comprehensive in their awareness. That's what I want to say. So positive aspects, and very few challenges except for the Saturn opposition, which you've already talked about, and it's in that grand trine. And if you're activating Vesta in the part of fortune, I think you're in a good.
And frankly, maybe you hate dealing with the system. Maybe you're like me and you're scared to death of. I'm not really afraid of hospitals to say, but I don't always have the greatest of trust relationships with modern medicine. Like I'm more likely to trust herbalist or something. It's just who I am. And it's hard for me to do this thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like emotionally, in my identity, it's hard for me to do it because I just don't always trust them. And you know, they've kind of earned that. They didn't get it, you know, just because I'm a suspicious person or something. And so, you know, there's a lot of people that have a hard time trusting doctors and nurses and such. But I'm choosing, and I'm making very specific choices. And I did choose the best hospital in the West, and I did choose the best surgeon I could find. And so, you know, so I've made some choices that help me feel comfortable. And so maybe if you're having to deal with the system, you'll do something that's very similar. You know, you'll be like, oh, I hate doing paperwork, right? Okay. Or I hate dealing with this system or whatever it is that you're having to deal with. And maybe it causes some emotional stress, but at the same time, maybe you'll make some practical choices that help you feel better about having to navigate the system. We all have to navigate the system sometimes. It sucks. I mean, how many times do you have to go to motor vehicle? And we all hate it. Okay.
Excellent.
It just is. It just is. But just, you know, that once you're done that, it will be better on the other side. And that's where we're headed. Okay.
Great. The 14th is the new moon. So 21 degrees, it'll be a new moon in Virgo. And the moon is going to be trining Jupiter, which is just a big, wonderful, wet kiss from the universe. Maybe it's not a wet kiss, whatever you want. A big hug, whatever you want. It's a very nice blessing with Jupiter.
So the grid trine in water is it is in water, yeah. Okay. I was trying to figure out also, okay, because Ceres is on the edge of Scorpio. Okay. So the grand trine in water is pretty perfected here. And it's pretty close to almost perfect. And it's only a degree or two off. The Saturn's only 2 degrees off. And and Ceres over there is also in a good aspect and just on the edge of Libra. And Ceres is about to move over from a more codependent sign to a more independent sign, which is, I personally think, is a little bit better because we've been nurturing and very focused on relationships, and some people are probably ready to have a damn break. And so Ceres, you know, as she moves into this grand trine, it's going to finish things up, nurturing things. It's going to make things happen. One of the things that I noticed is Pluto in conjunct Lilith. So you'll probably have to let go of control. Just saying that a couple of times for you, okay? Pluto in conjunct Lilith. Pluto is about power and control. Lilith is kind of about power and control, but a different type of power. She's more of feminine power and more of like, you know, I am who I am and that kind of energy. And Pluto is power and control and can be fear and stuff like that. So if you're dealing with that today, it's going to come to its head. But in conjunct means, although it might be a challenge, you just get your mindset and you're going to be okay. Okay, you're going to be okay. And there is a kite being pulled by Lilith. So either way, Lilith is going to eventually prevail, okay, even though Pluto is kind of pulling her down a little bit with that in conjunct. But at the top of that kite is Lilith. And Lilith is pulling on it. She's pulling forward. She's saying, no, you're going this way. So although you might get hung up a little bit on Pluto back there, we're still going this way. Okay? So if you're struggling a little bit with the system, or because the system, you know, with Saturn has a lot and Saturn's involved in both, is the back of the kite. Okay? So that might drag you down some. Pluto might put forth a challenge to you. But in conjunct means it's possible to overcome it. Okay? That means it's a hard, really tough challenge, but it is possible. Okay. So Pluto is about control, power, fear, and death. And she's not really so much about death and fear. She's more about power and control and feminist and independence.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pluto is more about controlling. So you might have a little bit of your independence pulling on the controlling, and you'll just have to figure out a good way to navigate through that. But the rest, but there's so many blessings happening on that day. I don't think, especially with the Grand Trine really lighting up, and then there's another Grand Trine in Earth. So there's two Grand Trines. There's one in water, which is emotional, and then one in Earth, which involves Pluto, and Uranus, which is very sudden, and also with the sun. So the sun in Earth. So, and then on top of that, Jupiter. Okay, now Jupiter is trining the sun, and this is what we were talking about. Jupiter is blessing the sun. Okay, Jupiter is and the moon, because the moon is coming up onto the sun. Okay, they're conjunct because it's a new moon. So if you were going to try to manifest something, today's the day.
Yeah.
September 14th, great day.
Thou art blessed.
To do any kind of magic, to bring something forth, to make something happen for yourself.
To get a new lease on life.
Yeah, that would be me. So I tried. I did. I really did. And the day I had to choose, I wasn't really sure, and I just closed my eyes in the doctor's office, and my astrologer had told me that early September was a good time. And the doctor asked me what day in September, and I was like, how about like the 14th? And he was like, okay, great. And then come to find out, all these great things are happening. It was nothing more than intuition, but a little bit of research with, with an astrologer. Astrologer kind of gave me a range of dates, and I just picked the day. And it also happens to be the new moon. So follow your intuition, my friends. If you've got something coming up, you're dealing with something on this day, or you need to do something, today's the day to do that thing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Because the moon is new.
That's it. The biggest thing is that trine to Jupiter, and it's a new moon in Virgo, and Mercury is in Virgo, so it's a very positive new moon. We're all good.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah.
The 14th is a really good day.
The 15th, Friday, the moon moves into Libra, and Libra, of course, is ruled by Venus. So the moon would answer to Venus and Leo. Now, when we think about that, we're like, well, wait a minute. The moon is in Libra, and Venus is 2 signs back in Leo. So it's like having somebody in your, in the back of the bus trying to have a conversation with them. Like, what? Venus is like not in a good position for that conversation to be happening. So it's kind of, they're not going to be really able to hear each other very well. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's like the driver and the person in the back of the bus trying to have a conversation. So the moon in Libra, what the moon means in Libra is artistic beauty. The moon in Libra is adaptable, it's creative, it's charming, it's good-natured, it's very diplomatic. Libra moon, of course, the challenge side of a Libra moon is indecisive, just not capable of making a decision because they need to know all the options. But then they can sometimes. Libra is on the challenge side, can be more codependent, can be self-indulgent, can be changeable, like hard to pin them down on a decision. And so we really like to work on the creative aspect of Libra and the creative artistic beauty that Libra sees the world with, which is beautiful. And of course, Libra is also about relationship, isn't it? So the moon is conjunct Pallas Athena, and it's in a T-square because it's opposite Neptune and that T-square with Vesta. So the moon is also in a trine to Pluto. So here, keep hearing these same players all this week. These are the same players over and over. So nice to be in a trine to Pluto. That's a nice blessing. And the challenge would be opposite Neptune, understanding your dreams and how Vesta, how to put them, what's important, what's the value, what's the thing you really need to prioritize.
Okay. And what I'm seeing is gosh, there are two kites in the sky, two grand trines. Like grand trine in water, grand trine in earth. Whatever you were trying to manifest that's physical, grounded, something you can hear, feel, see, or touch, that's earthy, okay? Grand trines in water is about emotions, overcoming anxiety, okay? I suffer with a lot of anxiety around my heart, okay? And so hopefully I'm hoping on this day I'm starting to feel really good, because it's very possible that I could be feeling really good. If you're on my Facebook, I'll post it.
And if you're a grand trine in water like Hollis is, this is also the mark of people who are healers, intuitive, you're capable of seeing and feeling and understanding and helping based on that. So
yeah, if you have a grand trine of water in your chart. If you have grand trine in earth, you're probably really good at manifesting physical things like money. If you're a grand trine in air, you're probably really good at thinking. You're probably very intellectual. And grand trine in fire, you're probably really good at starting fires. Okay. It's not always a bad thing. It's a good thing sometimes. It's usually a good thing if it's a grand trine, meaning that you can start businesses and start good things. Okay. Like that's a manifestation and transformation. Okay. So they tend to also have transformation, the elements of fire. But on this particular day, September the 15th, what's amazing about it is that there's two grand trines, two kites. Lilith is pulling on one kite, Neptune pulling on the other one over there in Pisces. And Neptune has been, down there in Pisces for quite some time now and is often involved in some things. And with Neptune and Pisces, it's probably going to pull on, maybe it's a little bit of some dreams, some perspectives that you've chosen to take. It could also be about spirituality and religion. Maybe that's changed for you. But with a kite pulling on it, it means that that's going to be pulling you forward. That's what's going to be pushing you forward. And, Uranus is involved in both of those trines. So if something big happens on the 14th and 15th for you, just know that it was meant to happen this way. This is part of your path, especially with Uranus and Taurus. I was listening to Christopher Renstrom talk about Uranus, and I found it fascinating for him to say, Uranus has all of its ties with the queer people and weird spots and stuff like that. But Uranus also, it tends to put us on our path. Like a deeper meaning of it is, if you're not on your path, it's going to make sure you are on your path. It's going to make, and since it's in a trine, it's going to make sure that it's easy to be on your path. Uranus wants to make sure that you're walking your path. So if your question was, am I on my path? You're on your path today. Okay. Even if it's hard, you're on your path today. Okay. And also the sun and moon are obviously conjunct. So new things, right? Then it's like the new moon. That's also coming about. So new things are manifesting, and with Pluto involved, power and control are changing. Pluto's involved with both kites and all the grand trines. With the one grand trine. And then Saturn's involved with the other one, which is very much about the system. Okay. And so then, hospitals and, government building, government services, and okay, that kind of thing. All right. School systems, those count. Those are part of the system. Okay. So anything that's you would consider part of the system. If the government pays their bills, it's part of the system. Okay. All right. Now, on the 16th,
The weekend, Saturday.
yes, this really gets that Grand Trine in water has really come around. It perfects on this day. You can see that blue triangle in the middle there. You see that big blue triangle? That is a Grand Trine in water, because now Ceres has moved into Scorpio, 0 degrees, and Ceres is about nurturing ourselves. And so Ceres is about what you're birthing into the world, and it's finally come out of Libra, so it's less about other people and relationships with other people, and it's finally become about you. It's finally become about what you need and and so you might feel a little demanding on this day. I'm just going to say, because it's at 0 degrees, and we talk about how, like, when it's at a lesser degree, it can sometimes be a little immature, but you're going to learn how to ask for what you need and to be independent also. So, because Scorpio is very independent, is very strong on its own, and prefers to be on its own. And with its involvement with Saturn is bringing the karmic experience and laying down and can also have a lot to do with restrictions. So if you are, so for me, I'll be recovering from heart surgery. So of course I will have some restrictions, right? Okay. And so other people, you may also be experiencing some sort of restrictions. What can't you do? And so that's where Ceres and Scorpio will become so perfected, so perfect for you, because whatever restrictions you're having, maybe you have to ask someone else to run that errand, or to take care, or to feed the dog, or to let the dog out, or whatever it is. You might have to ask for help, but you'll need to do it in a good way. So Ceres has moved into Scorpio, which I've been like, could we get out of Libra? So I think it's actually a good thing. And with that Grand Trine, that's just a blessing. And the other Grand Trine is still there. And Uranus is trining the sun on this day. So Uranus could suddenly make you feel better. Uranus could suddenly make you feel you're on your path, like you've made the right choice. And you could suddenly be very confident in your choices.
Good. I see you being confident in your choice. That's good. The moon is in Libra, continues to be in the crescent moon at this point. And it's in a sextile to Venus and in a sextile to Juno. So those are both nice aspects. And it's opposite Chiron, and it's about to conjunct Mars. So Mars, of course, is the planet of action, and the moon, it's nice that the moon moves into a sextile with Venus, because now they can talk a little bit more and hear each other, and so those are all very positive, nice flowy aspects for the moon.
With the moon conjunct Mars, that would probably also make you feel like you're being demanding, especially in Libra. So just keep in mind that you just ask for your needs. You know what I do when I ask for my needs? I wrap it in a thank you. Do thank you, would you be willing, ask for whatever you need, and then say thank you again. If you just say a whole lot of thank yous, most people are like, sure, I'll be happy to do that. And, like, for the most part, if you're grateful, you'll probably get better results. That's my rule about asking for help. All right.
And Sunday, look at that. 2 grand trines. What a
Yeah, they're
beautiful,
even stronger.
blessed day.
You can see the 2 blue triangles, right? It's not just me, right? You
Yeah.
can see them. Even you could probably see them, right, Lacrosse? You can see two big blue triangles. There's actually 3 in there.
Almost
There's
looks
a
like the
third
Star
one
of
in the
David, doesn't it?
background now I'm seeing. There's actually a third one in the background. So there's actually, I did see that it was a blessed day, but this is a really blessed day with 3 grand trines in the sky.
Wow.
Like you couldn't, I mean, there's 1 in fire, there's 1 in earth, the one that has been there, the Pluto, Uranus, and the sun are all in a grand trine. Then we have the 1 in fire, which is the part of fortune, Venus and Juno, and the North Node and Chiron. Okay.
Wow.
And then you got Vesta, Saturn, and Scorpio, all in water. So this is emotional. This is emotional issues coming to an end. This is resolution. This is feeling good about your choices. This is feeling awesome.
Knowing what
This
your
is
actions
going
need to
forward. And with fire, it's about taking action. And with Aries, with the North Node in Aries and the part of fortune in Sag, keeping a good mind about it. But with Aries, it's very much about physical action. Okay. Aries rules exercise. Okay. So this is going to be like, oh, I went for a walk okay. And, I did this, and it's about overcoming your, wounds and things like that. And with Venus and Juno, it's going to make relationships and love and self-love feel really good. It's a really beautiful day. So frankly, by the time you get to Sunday the 17th, what's the moon up to on that day?
There's 2 yods.
Oh gosh.
And of course the moon is conjunct Ceres, which is all about that self-love you just said, that nurturing. What are you nurturing in the world? How are you nurturing yourself? So one of the yods points at the moon, and its base is Uranus and Neptune. And then the other yod, the base is Moon and Ceres on one side, with Lilith as the other part of the base pointing at Neptune.
Okay.
So, that same theme, and the moon is sextile with Pluto. So it's, the moon is in a sextile with Lilith. It's in a T-square to Pluto, actually, because it's opposite the North Node. And the North Node, you have that, once you have an opposition, then the T-square is what's off of that. So the moon opposite the North Node creates a T-square to Pluto. But that's the only sort of challenge. But really, the yods and the sextile to Lilith, the conjunction with Ceres, it's all saying what you just said, which we'll say again. It's very positive. It's very blessed. Pay attention to what's calling you and your impulse to, like, I gotta do this now. You're gonna have the fuel in your rocket to launch now,
or get rewarded for it.
Get rewarded
because maybe you already did it a couple days ago.
Yeah, a beautiful week, actually. A lot of positivity, a lot of grand trines, which are just mwah, mwah, mwah. The universe is kissing you on the head and on the nose.
Well, we could use a break from all the tension and stress, right?
Oh my goodness, we have had so much, and it's, this is why we do what we do, because people, when you haven't researched or investigated past the what Hollis sometimes calls bubblegum astrology, people hear retrograde and they freak out and they think everything's going to go wrong. And that's not true at all. No. And almost all the planets are retrograde right now. We have Venus is finally stationing, going direct. Jupiter's about to go retrograde. You look at a planet like Uranus, and again, we learned this from Christopher Renstrom. Thank you to all our teachers. Uranus is retrograde half the time. Half the time. So if you have retrograde planets in your chart, and lots of us do, it's what I always hear as the watchword for retrograde is reflect, review. This is a great time to reassess all those words. And thank goodness, because if we were just blindly going a million miles an hour and we never slowed down and experienced the retrogrades, we wouldn't harvest the lessons and the learning and oh, I get what I need to do now. Shit. I didn't see
Right.
it before, but I see it now. Beautiful. That's what it's for.
Right.
So there's
And I think that's like what this week is all about, is like when you finally came to the other side of the retrogrades, where the retrogrades are saying, good job reviewing that.
Here's the
See,
harvest.
let's make it better now. Let's make this better. That's the whole point of reviewing something. If you edit something, that's the whole point.
making it better. Yeah, I always love the Maya Angelou quote, when you know better, you can do better.
That's right.
What would you like to add, Lacrosse? I'm sure the animals are
Speaking to us.
speaking to us in this season.
Oh, yeah. Actually, today I got a funny story. Today I was at work and there was this caterpillar. I was sitting down and just, enjoying the breeze because it's so nice and cool. And there was this caterpillar and it just started walking. And it literally U-turned and started coming back. And so I'm thinking, so I want to get up and I'm like, oh, I want to help you, little caterpillar. Come here, little brother. I want to help you. And I'm trying to pick the little caterpillar up. I don't want to be bothered. So I said, okay, fine. Obviously, you want to be there on your own. So I go and I sit down and it comes right at me. Crawls under my shoe to get through me, to get on the other side. And then it can't make it up the little, there was like a curb. So I put my hand and I just kind of pushed him little till he got over. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. What is a caterpillar? Everybody thinks, oh, butterfly, transformation, beautiful. Yeah. They don't look at the solitude, the going into yourself. And that's the same thing. And it kind of coincides with the bear. Although the bear hibernates, bears are actually very solitary. They're always by themselves unless it's mating or at a water hole. And it's always about internal. And I find it interesting with all the retrogrades, this is just a time of internal. It's not a time of panic, it's a time of growth. Go into your cocoon, start readjusting, start changing your mindset. So that way when you come out, you can see basically the benefits of what that internal growth was. So that's what I got today. So I did help the little caterpillar up over the thing. And that made me very happy today. So
It was a day of visitors for sure. I
Yeah.
was sitting under my tree on my log bench doing my morning practice, and all of a sudden Charlie barks. So I look behind me and whoa, the moose is back. Holy moly, he's huge. So although he's not the biggest guy. So quickly I get the dog in the house and I tell Hollis what's going on. I grab my camera and go around video the guy for a little bit. And I come back to sit and do my practice because I still hadn't really done my practice. And then all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by little starling, little tiny, they're barely bigger than a hummingbird. And I'm like, wow, where did all you guys come from? And they were around for but just a few minutes. And then a hummingbird buzzes me and it practically lands on my shoulder. I'm like, whoa, hi. And hovers for, a fraction of a second and then boom. I was like, wow, this is quite the morning. Okay, let me get to my practice,
Yeah.
I was listening to this book by, I think his name is Great Medicine Bear, or Great something like that. And he was basically saying that there are relatives, and since these animals, birds, they're bird people, there's I don't know, fish people, lizard people, mammal people, they're all people, like we're people, and there are relatives. And he was saying, people would say, oh, how do you know what they're saying? He says, because you don't listen. And it's the beauty of having that. They chose you. And I think this is what people don't get. That bird and that animal that they chose you. And that's another thing. The message it gives you is not the same message it's going to give me. There's a universal message, but there's something deeper, and each message is individual because they don't need to come to us. They don't really need us. We need them. So I think if people were to stop, listen, enjoy it like you were doing, you're like, oh, what is this? What are you telling me? What are you sharing? What do you want me to learn? I need to go do some research because you're telling me something, and I think that's beautiful, but people need to listen. And the best way to listen is to go internal, take that still moment, be alone, and just soak it in. That's
And it was
beautiful.
so funny because this morning I turned to Hollis, I grabbed my journal, and I went, I'm going to go outside because I always feel like my practice is deeper, better, whatever, when I'm outside, when I'm sitting under the tree instead of sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It was really, really just, I felt very blessed out by that time that morning was done.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah, animals are definitely a special messengers for sure. And so
Do you have a tarot reading for us?
so I have a tarot reading. And so the first card that I have is from the past, okay? And this is the King of Wands, okay? And the King of Wands is very much about black and white. It can be kind of a toxic person in your life, so I'm just going to say if that happened, this represents a toxic person in your life. Yeah. It could also be other toxic ways of thinking and ways of being that are very black or white instead of a little bit more well-rounded. So black and white is literally sort of good or bad, right? Like there's no in the middle. It's like man or woman. You're not thinking about anything in the middle. And so that's what black and white usually means for me. And with the King of Wands, this is about black and white thinking, black and white manifestation, and some part of you that was maybe toxic from the past. And this next card is the King of Swords. And
Interesting. King and king. Okay.
yeah, two kings is very masculine. And this card is the King of Swords, and this is very much about manifesting our thoughts in a better way and bringing forth a good mindset. It's also about taking good action or taking action that is hard to take sometimes with King of Swords, but is necessary or good in some way or necessary for like the better of all people type of thing. Okay, and so that's how you have to think about with the King of Swords. And he has the sun behind him, and if you take a look here, yeah, there's like a little creature or something on the shoulder. Let's see if it you can kind of see it on the edge.
Looks like a little frog or something. It looked like Kermit to me. I don't know. A purple
Right?
Kermit.
I think it's actually a little mouse.
Okay, then I can't see. So I was like, I see a purple Kermit.
Right. I think it's actually
Oh yeah. Okay, it's clear now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but can you tell it's a mouse? I don't know.
It's a creature, that's for sure.
It could be.
Yeah. And so it looks like it's kind of looking up at him, but I'm pretty sure this is something whispering in his ear, getting spiritual messages in his ear, okay? And so that's what it means to me anyway, and that's what this character is holding. This character has made actions, choices, and thoughts that have created actions that have manifested some sort of beautiful divine future. So that's kind of what this card is all about, okay? And that's in the here and now. And then this card is pretty much about the manifestation of what happens when things fall apart, okay? So it's the Tower card. Some people see it as the bad card, and we just had this conversation about retrogrades. And the Tower card can very much be about taking things down. So maybe something had to come down. Something have to come down for you. Something have to change. You took something out. You got rid of something. That's what this is, the Tower card, okay? Or you're about to get rid of something, or you're having to rebuild. Sometimes this is also about rebuilding, but it's not always a bad thing. Oftentimes it can be a good thing, especially what comes right after the Tower, okay? So that's pretty much what this card is about. I find it interesting that we got the King of Wands, which is very much about a toxic history or a toxic past, and black and white thinking and sort of limited thinking that leads you to not very expansive future. And then the King of Swords, who brings forth messages from spirit and takes action that helps us go forth and do a good thing. But it also means that there will be some rebuilding, some healing. For me, I'm sure there will be some healing. For others facing other health problems, maybe you found a solution, but now you gotta, recover, maybe you left the toxic person, but now you gotta start all over again, okay? And you maybe have to get your own apartment and stuff like that. But just try to remember that even though we're rebuilding, it's going to lead you to a good thing, because that's what the Tower is all about. It's leading you somewhere on your path.
Reminds me of Saturn, that,
sometimes
structure, tower, that sometimes things have to change.
Yeah, exactly. And so when things change, best thing to do is try to float with that change, try to flow with it.
And always, 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 when you're in a struggle, if you can ask, what am I learning? What can I learn? How can I learn? That usually gives you a much better way out than, why is this happening to me? Which is a completely useless question.
Yeah.
So,
but I like to ask that question all the time.
Humans were addicted.
I do it all the time. I ask myself, is this happening to me? Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. It's my favorite question. And then what I do is then I go, knock it off.
What can I learn? Yeah.
100%.
So great week. That's the bottom line. We wish you a very blessed, beautiful, brilliant. May you be delightfully surprised what a great week it can be.
All right, friends. Make sure you follow, like, comment,
subscribe,
share, subscribe. Do all those things, okay?
Yep.
We appreciate you. Take care and have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.